Welcome to the New Age Insiders. This is our first podcast, but by far not our last. My name is Jason Maltov.
And I'm Liam Stryker.
I'm that guy you've been talking to on Twitter all this time, and we are excited to talk wrestling with you. This is the New Age Insiders, the premier place for fans to connect, discuss, and be heard, and this is just the beginning of a whole lot of good. How are you tonight, Liam?
I'm great.
That's excellent. We have a lot of people to talk to, a lot of people to talk about, a lot of wrestling to cover, and I'm excited. Where do you want to get started tonight?
It's a Tuesday, so let's just recap Raw. We'll dive right in.
I like that a lot. I like that we're giving away it's Tuesday, too. We are not afraid to not be SmackDown. We tape on Tuesdays around here at the New Age Insiders because that's what we do. All right, so Raw got off to an interesting start as Vickie Guerrero headed to the ring to talk to Stephanie McMahon. How do you think Stephanie is doing, by the way, as an authority figure? I mean, I think she's following in her dad's footsteps pretty well, to be honest with you. You can't buy that kind of heat.
I think that she's very good. She's definitely owning it on her own. She's not playing that same character that Vince was with that just, she has a lot more class to it.
She's come a long way from being engaged to Test.
Yeah.
So Vickie Guerrero, it looks like she's gone from World Wrestling Entertainment. We actually heard from our inside source about 2 months ago that her time was going to be limited at WWE. It looks like she's going to be moving on to other projects. I understand that it's a very difficult travel schedule and that, frankly, working for World Wrestling Entertainment isn't always the easiest thing. So how do you feel about Vickie Guerrero's opening segment? Let's take it from the top.
I thought it was really fun. I mean, we kind of knew it was coming based on last week's Raw with the coffee and the vomit and all that fun stuff.
I mean, to be fair, we never saw what Roman Reigns did. I mean, innocent until proven guilty, am I right?
Yeah. I mean, it could have been the sneeze,
Stephanie could have been sick. I mean,
could have been sick.
It's a frame job if I've ever seen one.
Yes.
World Wrestling Entertainment's known for that. All right, so let's talk about something real quick. I know we don't want to get into it too deep because it's a little touchy, but do you think the Eddie Guerrero references were in poor taste? I mean, I've heard people on Twitter say because we are the best place on Twitter to connect and discuss World Wrestling Entertainment. You guys already know that. I've had people tell me before, hey, Jason, shut up. If Vickie Guerrero's okay with it, who are you? I think it's a very valid argument, to be honest with you. And I guess that my comfort level got increased when it began to be a pro kind of dialogue. But, I mean, it wasn't Batista saying he's rotting in hell. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sure if it's the right context when you're about to dump his widow in pudding to be bringing up Eddie Guerrero. What do you think about that?
I think that it was kind of a celebration of the Guerrero family as a whole. I don't necessarily think that
Pudding and all.
Yeah, pudding and all. No, I think that it was I think it was more of a celebration, like more so in the beginning, where they make references to Eddie, and then her later coming out to the Latino Heat entrance music. I thought it was more of a celebration of the Guerrero family. I mean, obviously, she's got to lose that match if she's going to be fired and leave the company.
Sure.
And
she's a worthy competitor, though. Many a girl fell in that pudding before Miss Guerrero. Let the record show that.
Yeah. But you also look into the fact that, she was able to, at the end, also get Stephanie into it. And, Stephanie took a big, roll around in that pudding.
Pudding for everyone. It was an equal opportunity pudding Raw. All right, so do you actually believe that this is the end of Vickie Guerrero's run in WWE? Is this the last we've seen of her? Do you think she's going to pop up eventually? Is this all sort of a underlying story for some time off? We know how recently superstars have enjoyed taking their time off, hint, hint. But we're not going down that road. We're talking Vickie Guerrero. Do you think this is it for her in World Wrestling Entertainment?
I don't think so, but I do think that this is her last stint as an authority figure. I don't think she's going to magically come back as a GM or anything like that. Or the only time she might come back, her daughter has been in and out of the developmental program.
Sure. And
so if she was going to come back, it might be in a managerial sense with her daughter.
Okay.
But other than that, I think she's done. I think it's over for Vickie.
I think that Vickie Guerrero's time in WWE is an interesting one. I think that, Stephanie was, practically shooting on Raw when you heard her talk about how, Eddie died. And World Wrestling Entertainment almost felt an obligation to take care of his widow. I mean, she couldn't. You heard Stephanie. I'm quoting Stephanie McMahon, which I hope to not do often. But she said we couldn't make you a diva. That was unrealistic. So we gave you a manager spot. We gave you an authority spot. I think to be fair to Vickie Guerrero, for someone who really wasn't heavily involved in the wrestling business before Eddie's death, she adapted relatively well. But she was never a super strong talker. She would stumble over her own words oftentimes. Yeah. I think once you got past the novelty of her annoying voice, she was a thin character, to be honest with you. And so I'm not sure how her time will be viewed upon. But at the same time, she did go from an inexperienced widow of a professional wrestler to somebody who established herself in WWE. No small task.
No, you're right. It is no small task. I do think that she kind of fit in that weird, gray area of the brand split.
Okay.
Where talent was very spread thin across both brands.
Sure.
But I think that she was great in terms of what her role on the roster was.
Okay.
From being with Edge, and kind of Edge using her as like a, place of to gain power and more shots at the title.
Sure.
She and then into the GM role, and then into kind of like a super GM role after Brad Maddox became the Raw GM, and she got fired 15 times. And
what's the least likely storyline in WWE history? That Mark Henry could impregnate Mae Young, or that both Dolph Ziggler and Edge would be sexually attracted to Vicky Guerrero?
I'm gonna go with Mark Henry. No, I'm gonna go with Ziggler and Edge being attracted to Vicky Guerrero.
I'm gonna go ahead and agree with you on that. Vicky Guerrero, if her time is done in WWE, if this is a wrap, so let's play that game. Is she worthy? We like to play a game around here. You guys know on the New Age Insiders, the premier place to discuss, connect, and be heard, that we like to play a game around here called Are They a Hall of Famer? Do you think that Vicky Guerrero has Hall of Fame credentials if this is a wrap?
I don't think she's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I think at some point she does get in.
Are there ballots?
I don't know.
Are there ballots?
I don't understand how the system works.
Is it just like one of those things where they just let Pat Patterson decide?
It probably is.
It's probably like Gerald Briscoe and Patterson are at it again.
I mean,
they're the Hall of Fame committee.
Yeah, they're the Hall of Fame committee. They got a bunch of darts and just a bunch of names.
They
on
got the
board.
Main Street Posse as backup analysts.
Yeah, they're just throwing darts at a dartboard.
WWE is run by monkeys.
Because I don't understand. They're at least in like football and basketball and baseball, you have to wait so long.
Sure.
Hulk Hogan and Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan and Steve Austin retired.
Right.
And the next year they were in the Hall of Fame.
Right. When did Macho Man get in?
Oh,
loaded
never.
topic. Horrible. Vicky Guerrero, no, not a Hall of Famer. I think you have to draw the line somewhere. I think you guys know we talk on Twitter quite often how I feel that Hall of Fame credentials need to be pretty specific. Coco Beware is not the bar setter for World Wrestling Entertainment Hall of Famers. I think that it's important to draw the line between great career and Hall of Fame. I think
that's very true.
I think it applies to any sport, really, that there's no shame in having a great career but not being a Hall of Famer.
But that goes into the idea of you have a Hall of Fame class every year, and eventually people have to go in.
Sure.
That's kind of what you're seeing with baseball right now.
Right.
Where
is that a flaw? Is the Hall of Fame something that shouldn't be yearly? It should be, hey,
these people
make it like the Medal of Honor. The president doesn't give one every year; he gives it when it's time. Is the Hall of Fame one of those things where, like you said, the more that you need to let 5 to 7 people in every year, the more people are going to slip through the cracks?
See, it's tough because you're also talking about a Hall of Fame that exists around, a scripted television program. So it's tough. I mean,
it's
obviously,
it's not fair. All 16 of Ric Flair's championships were predetermined. I mean, we base these guys' careers on predetermined statistics. It has to become a wash at some point.
They have to be. It has to be like an actual performance-based thing. But what I'm saying is the idea that you can't say that because in baseball there's so many years you can vote for this person.
Okay.
You can't do
a
that.
Statute of limitations.
There's a statute of limitations. It's you can't do that with professional wrestling because people are in and around the business for years and decades. And, so it's a very tough thing because, should Vicky Guerrero go in?
I don't think so. I think if you look at she was an on-screen personality.
Yeah.
She was a manager. I keep coming back to the same central point. I don't want to be repetitive, but I just think that you have, at some point, it's okay to say you had a great career that didn't belong in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah, no.
I think agree with you. I'll tell you that a guy like Val Venus had a great career, all things considered. He was a multi-time Intercontinental Champion when the World Wrestling Federation's mid-card was all-time stacked. That's a great career.
Oh, yeah.
If your gimmick is a porn star and you become a multiple-time Intercontinental Champion and have more than 5 years where you're at all relevant, then you had a great career. But Val Venus isn't going to the Hall of Fame, and that's okay. All right, we are the New Age Insiders. We are the premier place for wrestling fans to connect, discuss, and be heard. And we are going to be moving on. We do know that part of Raw was that a lot of things came together for Money in the Bank, and Money in the Bank will be held in Boston, Massachusetts this year. This upcoming Sunday, June 29th, the New Age Insiders will be on the floor, in the house, and in your face with as much news as you can handle. We will be there. We'll be there live. We'll be live tweeting the event. We will be talking to you as it happens, because that's just what we do around here. So we're going to get into Money in the Bank near the end of the show, so we'll go into greater detail then. But let's touch
a prediction.
Exactly, but let's touch upon the fact that Triple H did not only fill out the card for the Money in the Bank briefcase match, but for the first time we'll have an eighth I mean, I guess everything's the first time. No one's ever had a Money in the Bank ladder match for the World Wrestling Entertainment Heavyweight Championship of the World, but now we have an eighth competitor. It's Kane. How do you feel about Raw? Does it get you excited for Money in the Bank, even if you didn't have tickets? Because I think this is an extreme example. But even if you didn't have tickets, would you be? Has World Wrestling Entertainment done a good job gearing you up for Money in the Bank 2014?
You know what? I'd have to say that I'm on a solid 8 for the show. Okay. Even with tickets.
Bret Hart usually only gives a 4.
Yeah.
That's twice as good as the average Bret Hart score out of 10.
Yes. Yeah. But I think that Raw has definitely kind of stepped up its game the past couple of weeks. I thought they've definitely hyped up the Money in the Bank world title match.
Okay.
Enough to a point where it's definitely something that you're going to want to see.
Okay.
I think there are enough different personalities.
I think anytime you're guaranteed a new champion,
it's exciting.
It's a built-in wow factor.
Exactly.
I think that there's one of the things I hear, we talk to you guys very often. We're there every day. We are your premier place to discuss and be heard. And when we talk to you on Twitter, one of the biggest complaints that we've heard when we talk about Raw is that there's no televised title changes anymore on free TV. And I think that's a real factor as to, if you want to make Raw must-see, the fact that belts can change hands on free television, I think would only be beneficial to that. And so you get the built-in factor, not to get off topic, but you get the built-in factor of a guaranteed new champion. Yep. And I think the briefcase, it was a super smart idea for them to not have the ladder match in lieu of the briefcase match.
Oh, yeah.
So
the briefcase has replaced the King of the Ring.
Right.
Back in the day when the King of the Ring was a tournament that was held, and then they had a guaranteed shot at SummerSlam for the title.
Right.
This kind of changes it in the same way that like the Royal Rumble is for more established competitors.
It's a little bit of both.
It's a little bit of both.
It's a little bit of the King of the Ring because you beat other people for an established achievement, but it's a little bit of the Royal Rumble because it's literally an instant title shot.
Exactly.
And so you become the number one contender. I mean, I'm a big fan of King of the Ring. I'll have a soft spot in my heart forever because my first live World Wrestling Entertainment event was actually a WWF event. We were actually both there.
I was both there.
We in a different life, folks. We were at the same pay-per-view before we knew each other.
Yeah.
If you don't think the New Age Insiders was meant to be after a story like that, you're dead inside. So he and I were both at King of the Ring 2000. We watched Kurt Angle win the King of the Ring. Again, we didn't even know each other yet.
Yeah.
We had different seats.
We watched the American Badass choke slam Shane McMahon off of the top turnbuckle through the announce
and then they
table.
gave The Rock the belt in a panic move. Anywho, the point is that King of the Ring used to be a way to kind of sort the field. That they said, like, yeah, we have a mid card, but there's one guy we have faith in more than anybody else. I think that is really what Money in the Bank has become.
Yeah.
Is that, we have a mid card, but this is the guy that we're hitching our wagons to, because the beauty of it is I've heard a lot of people say, well, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns is going to win the belt, and then Seth Rollins is going to win the case, and then Seth Rollins is going to cash in, and he's going to win the belt. I have a very hard time believing that both Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins are going to claim that they won their first championship in the same night this Sunday. But the point of it is that even if when you win that briefcase, they get confidence in you. Moving forward, you have a title shot.
Exactly. At some point, it was funny. I remember when Edge won the first one.
Sure.
And I thought that me and my buddies were thinking about how we thought the writers hated Edge because we thought they were actually going to go 365 days and then just let the briefcase run out.
The contract be void.
And
Can you imagine that?
One of those situations where he wanted it like 8:08 on that Sunday,
right.
And so he cashed it in at like 8:15, and so it's void.
Damn you, time zones!
You know what I mean?
I was off by 3 hours.
The booking for Edge at that point was terrible.
Sure,
because he had won the King of the Ring.
The
at
booking
that point.
for Christian continues to be. Go on.
Yes. So moving on, we also found out that the actual Money in the Bank briefcase
Right.
contestants were
Sure.
announced.
Yep.
So it's no longer just Seth Rollins in a ring with a ladder.
Right. And we're guaranteed, because Kofi Kingston's in it, to have a moment where we go, wow, he should be higher on the card, and then we'll come to our senses and realize that he's pretty much exactly where he should be. I do think that the money...
But he's so happy.
He's super happy to be there, and he's the only guy from West Africa to just embrace Jamaican culture, almost to a fault.
Yeah, it's true.
But anyway, we could go all night about having a boom time with Kofi Kingston. But we did find out that the Money in the Bank contract match, and to me, the Money in the Bank contract match is almost yearly. And I know it's different this year because they're both ladder matches, but I think that the Money in the Bank is almost more intriguing to me than the championship.
Yeah.
Because the championship is something that fluctuates.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You could walk in and out of on a typical Money in the Bank. This is obviously different with a vacated title, but you could walk in and out of Money in the Bank as the champion, and the crowd knows the likelihood of the person who won the case facing the current champion is slim because they have it for up to 12 months.
Yeah.
It's the reason why if they were to put it on someone like Seth Rollins, if they were to give him that briefcase, you've got 12 months. And we've seen them take the fast approach with Kane cashing in that night.
yeah.
And we've seen them slow burn with Dolph Ziggler, where I think it was, honest to goodness, something like 10 months.
He was another one where I thought that the writers hated him.
Well,
We'll get to
you're
that.
right. Well, you're right. We're going to touch on Money in the Bank more later
Later.
on in the show because we're going to cover a full prediction list, because you know us around here at the New Age Insiders. If it's a show that's happening, we have to get our opinion out there. So we are the New Age Insiders, the premier place for fans to connect, discuss, and be heard. We will be live on the floor, Boston, Massachusetts, TD Garden, for Money in the Bank coming up this Sunday. We will be live tweeting the show from inside the house.
We're also going to have some fun gear.
Are we going to have some fun gear? Because our t-shirts are being printed as we speak. That's right, the New Age Insiders have t-shirts. Don't ask how to buy one yet. We're not sure either. We got to get one of those like credit card things for our iPads. Anywho,
Yeah.
we will be giving away free t-shirts coming up in the upcoming weeks. We're going to have caption contests, best tweets. Liam had an excellent idea. What was your idea for giving away a t-shirt on Twitter?
I would love for us to come up with a topic and you guys cut promos.
Oh, see, let's see how good a promo you can cut when a New Age Insiders t-shirt is on the line. I think that sounds like an awesome
I mean,
idea.
hell, I'll even cut one.
Heck, if Liam cuts a promo, you have to try to beat Liam. The person to beat Liam at a promo contest gets a free New Age Insiders t-shirt. We only have them in extra small. Anyway, one of the things we found out on Raw is that WWE continues to feel that Harper is probably more of a value long-term than Rowan, because Harper, again, was able to solidify the win while Rowan took the loss with the Wyatts splitting the decision against the Usos. We're going to get into more of our predictions, like we said, as to who's going to win that match at Money in the Bank. But let me just ask you this, because we saw them both showcased
Yes.
on Raw. How do you feel about the Funky Dunky Wyatts? Are they an extension of Bray Wyatt? In my opinion, Luke Harper has really kind of developed on his own and become the potential to be maybe the most athletic and best character big man since Kane. How do you feel about Eric Rowan and Luke Harper separate from Bray Wyatt?
I think as a unit, there's a lot of value to them.
Okay.
Being a tag team, I think that they're going to help bolster the tag team titles when they get them. I don't know if it's going to be Sunday. I don't know if it's going to be
I do.
later.
I do.
I think it's going to be Sunday as well.
Everything I'm told is that the Wyatt face turn is going to slow burn, but has already sort of started.
Yeah.
And that
Also, are you really a heel if everybody's cheering for you?
no, you're not. I mean,
Like,
that,
is Cesaro a heel?
right,
No.
well, is Bad News Barrett a heel?
No,
not at all.
but-
He's one of the top. I bet you, if you polled a live crowd, he is consistently in the top 5 reasons you showed up and bought a ticket. Is Bad News Barrett?
You kind of saw it. You saw it when Triple H was announcing the Money in the Bank contestants. He even gets into the, I've got some bad news for you.
It's impossible if you're an American to not try to poorly imitate a British accent.
Of course.
Do you have any idea how? I mean, people said shagadelic in this country for 10 years after Austin Powers.
Did
It
you
was
just
an
hear
epidemic.
the horrible Bad News Barrett?
I've got some bad news for you. That's worse.
But
We're having
I
a
think,
bad News Barrett imitation
Yeah.
off here on the New Age Insiders, the premier place to discuss and be heard. So I think that Eric Rowan is a very talented big man. Don't get me wrong; he's an old school bruiser. There's great value in stars like that. I think he's a great complementary piece to the Wyatt family. But I think there's a clear reason why Harper is getting so much more promo time. I think that he.
I feel like Eric Rowan is also kind of like the equivalent of Albert, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Where he's gonna be placed around in a bunch of different tag teams because he works well in that situation.
And he's huge.
Big,
and he's
huge.
intimidating. Exactly.
At some point, he's going to get paired with Rey Mysterio, Kalisto.
Right. And I think that, I mean, here's the thing. Bray Wyatt could break away today and be a successful solo star. I think that in time, Harper and Rowan will kind of always be affiliated with Bray Wyatt. I think that's unavoidable. But I think in time they can establish themselves as a really strong tag team. But if they were to split off, I think that
Luke Harper's definitely.
Honest to goodness, because say WWE is done with the Wyatt family gimmick, or they move on to Bray Wyatt, moving on to different talent to become the family. Let's say something like that. And you unbrainwash Luke Harper.
Then he's just Hell's Mechanic.
Yes, well, yeah. He's going to need to get a new tank top because he's going to regain his sense of smell and realize what the hell's going on.
That's true.
And then, but what I'm saying is if he needed to be, he's proven that he has the character strength, the surprising promo skill, and he's, for a guy his size, I mean, I keep coming back to the comparison of like Kane because he's so big, yet he's so athletic, and he's playing the character that has the potential to really be corny and really cheesy, but because they're playing it so well, you're in it. You're in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's easy to buy into, especially early Kane. It's easy to get hooked on the Wyatt family, and I honest to goodness think that as much as it's obviously about Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper deserves some credit. We are the New Age Insiders. We are the premier place for fans to discuss, connect, and be heard. What do you feel, speaking of tag teams, is the state of the current World Wrestling Entertainment tag team division? I think something that really used to be a major strength for this company is now a almost glaring weakness. What do you think about that?
You know what? I feel like the Usos deserve a lot of credit. They are consistently one of the toughest workers on the roster, night in and night out. They're workhorses, and they're doing.
They were on the roster a surprisingly long time for this to be their first championship. Right?
I know,
like surprisingly long.
You
look them up; they've been around for a while.
They have been around for a while, but I feel bad for them because they just haven't gotten a legitimate shot against great tag teams.
Yeah, there are none.
Because there aren't any.
There aren't. I mean, the Rhodes brothers, and we'll touch upon Stardust a little bit, but the Rhodes brothers have all the potential in the world, but the issue is there doesn't seem to feel like a great deal of pure tag teams. I feel like the Wyatts, the Rhodes, and the Usos are the only ones that feel like they're tag teams that aren't made just because it's two guys not doing something. So but the problem with the Rhodes is that everybody, while these guys are putting on great tag matches, is asking, when's the feud? When's the rivalry? When are these guys going to split up? That's not a good thing.
No, it isn't a good thing, and they do need. I feel like they need to get back to that. Back when it was like the APA, and the APA was just about being a tag team.
Right.
The Road Warriors, and they were just about being a tag team.
Taking the New Age Outlaws.
Not to be confused with the New Age Insiders.
No, we're different and better. And I'm kidding. I love you, Road Dogg Jesse James. I love you, Badass Billy Gunn. And
we didn't like Chuck when you teamed with him.
No, I wasn't psyched about that. Also, your last run was terrible, and those tag belts are terrible. They look like Souvenir Gladiator copper pennies, but we won't get into that. But I think that you're totally right about the fact. We'll move on, but I think that you're totally right about the fact that tag team wrestling, not only in World Wrestling Entertainment, but I think just as a professional wrestling entity, used to be greatly valued. And you're totally right that there were tag teams like the Dudley Boys, the
Hardy Boys,
right? Exactly.
Edge and Christian,
right? And even though there were guys that found individual success, I mean, Jeff Hardy and Edge are both former WWE champions. I think that's something in 1999.
Multi-time too.
Right. I think. Well, not Jeff, but
wasn't he World Heavyweight and WWE?
I so separate the World Heavyweight title from the WWE Championship. I just do. I
don't need to get into
I
that.
understand, but I always separate the WWE title from the World Heavyweight title.
Fair enough.
But tag teams get better. # obvious. All right, we are the New Age Insiders. We are the premier place for fans to connect, discuss, and to be heard.
Next up, we're going to talk about the Barrett versus Ziggler match.
Thank you. Yes, please, is what I want to say, because I think that one of the things that we've been told, and one of the things we read and we kind of see with our own two eyes, is that an in-ring product focus is kind of happening, which is great.
Yes.
Let the wrestlers work, and I think that WWE's finally seeing value in great in-ring wrestling. I don't know if it gets a lot better than Wade Barrett versus Dolph Ziggler. I mean, it what may not be the match of the year, but it was certainly the match of the night.
Oh, clearly the match of the night. You know what? I at first didn't like Wade Barrett's Bullhammer, but in this second run as like the actual Bad News Barrett, it seems to have gotten a lot more violent.
The ability to hit it out of nowhere is huge.
Yes.
The appeal of the RKO is that, like... without
Anywhere.
Right. And it takes, 2 seconds for Randy Orton to just think about it, do it, hit it. And I think, like you saw to finish, Ziggler comes off the turnbuckle, and that thing's just waiting for him.
Yeah. And I think it's a lot more devastating. When he hit RVD with it, flying off of the ropes, made it look 10 times more devastating than the first time he had the IC title and was using it.
Right.
And it actually even makes the Wasteland look a lot more impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a very impressive finisher, but knowing that the Bullhammer is also there makes it feel bigger.
Sure.
Because he hits things with more impact.
I think that near fall moves are something that, is a very good thing to have. I mean, Ziggler, the very same match, the Famouser, that's his near fall move. They're going to kick out at 2, but it's good enough to kind of transition through the match. I mean, we could talk all day about how Barrett's on the rise and Dolph Ziggler seems to be treading water. I mean, it's almost painfully obvious at this point that that's what's going on. But when they get a chance to go in the ring, they prove that there's a reason why they should.
Yeah.
All right, so we are going to move on, still touching on Raw before getting on to NXT. Then we're going to field your questions, and then we're kind of going to close the show up with our full Money in the Bank predictions. So stay tuned. I mean, not that you're going to go anywhere. This isn't the radio. Don't change the channel. We don't even have any commercials. Why would you leave? I
was just going to do fake commercials.
We're going to do fake commercials? Okay, we're going to do fake commercials. Rubber hands. Do you need rubber hands? Are you a 75-year-old woman impregnated by Mark Henry? Buy rubber hands.
Okay, you know what? We're not going to do fake commercials.
All right, fine. We tried. Okay, moving on to NXT. I mean, we talk to you guys every single day. NXT is a very popular topic. Anytime we seem to post anything about NXT talent, the NXT direction, the NXT production, you guys have a lot to say because you're so smart. That's why you follow the New Age Insiders, because you're brilliant, you're genius. You click the best follow button there is on the internet. We get it, and we love you. So Liam here is our indie specialist. This is the guy who gets all the indie news that keeps us pumping. He is I have my strengths, but I got nothing on this guy indie wise. So I can
want to talk whenever we're talking Ring of Honor, PWG, we even talk NXT.
Right. When we talk, and it's overwhelming almost all the initials that we have to cover, and I have to try to remember. This guy's got them on lock. So I consider NXT. NXT is clearly not an independent production. So hey, Twitter, before you attack me about how NXT is an indie, I know. But NXT is certainly not WWE's main roster. It certainly has kind of an independent vibe to it. We go to a lot of indie shows ourselves. We know the independent vibe. So how do you feel about NXT? And I'm going to kind of let you take the lead. What do you want to talk about NXT-wise? It's coming up on Thursday.
You know what? I'd have to say that the first thing I want to talk about is just the state of the NXT Tag Team division. We touched on that.
They have a tag team division?
Well, they have a tag team.
Yeah.
They have a
tag team division? I know they have those new gentlemen that are in black and white. I actually like them a lot. But other than that...
we'll get to them.
That's shocking. Get to them. Breaking news, you heard it here first on the New Age Insiders. NXT has a tag division.
Yes.
Go on.
Obviously, the Ascension, they are the reigning champions. They're the longest reigning champions. I feel like NXT... they need to bolster their tag team division. It kind of strings up to the main roster where there isn't a tag team division there. And I feel like if you are going to create a tag team division, you're going to need to start at NXT.
I understand the value that, okay, if NXT had 4 competitive tag teams, you do it. It's 2 things. A, it clouds the water. There's so many tag teams that it's like, who am I supposed to feel as the tag team of the future? And what it also does is you pair off guys and you don't get a chance to see what they can do as individual stars. Like you and I were talking about earlier this evening. There's a reason why Sami Zayn and Tyler Breeze aren't the most dominant tag team in NXT history.
Yeah.
It's because they have solo aspirations for these guys. So why would we impair them like that? But at the same time, is it time for NXT maybe to prioritize the division more over one team at a time? I feel like the Wyatt family turned into the Ascension, and other than that, it's almost paper thin.
It is paper thin, and I think that WWE is actually losing a lot of opportunity with this open challenge that the Ascension has, where they'll challenge anybody at any point at any time.
If they challenge them to a gimmick off, then they're gonna win. The entrance is strong. I was talking to Roman Will Reign. There's a shout out for you, Rebecca, because you're so awesome. You're in our Hall of Fame about this, and we weren't even be able to tell if they were Egyptian, if there's some sort of weird like alien. I mean, if by now, if they're the longest reigning tag team champions in NXT history, and I'm not positive what the gimmick is, either I'm an idiot, easy comment section, or it's not. I mean, I don't know. I guess that I just like them until the bell rings, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, as far as performers go, they're not the best, but I think they're also a product of their competition. When you're having people that come in and job that are just 2 guys that are in the training center, that they were just like, all right, you're going to fight the Ascension this week. I don't think that that's a lot of strong competition. What I do think WWE is missing out on is there are a lot of great established tag teams in the indie circuit. I mean, I think we would all kill to be watching the next NXT live event and have the Ascension come out and say, hey, we still have that open challenge. Nobody's afraid to, everybody's afraid to come fight us. And have a team like, the Briscoe brothers from Ring of Honor come in and just show up. Or even the Rock Ness Monsters. That would be amazing.
Just an incredible tag name. They deserve some sort of championship based on that name alone.
We'll talk about fun tag
teams.
That's
fantastic.
Well, I mean, there's even the Super Smash Brothers.
Oh my goodness.
I don't even know if they're even a tag team
That game
anymore.
doesn't even come out till the end of the year.
No, it doesn't.
That's silly.
Yeah.
All right, so one of the things that we were talking about earlier too, and we've been talking to you at New Age Insiders on Twitter, website to be coming soon. It will be newageinsiders.com. The t-shirts are being printed. The amount of good things happening here at the New Age Insiders is overwhelming.
So good.
If Positive Energy was a pool, we would have drowned long ago and wouldn't be able to bring you our debut podcast. So it's almost good that it's metaphorical. Anywho, so what we were talking about was, can some gimmicks transition poorly to the main roster? One of the guys we were talking about in particular, I think that Adam Rose kind of is what he is.
Yeah.
And when we were talking to you on Twitter, I know that Joe to the Bo is really big on Bo Dallas, and I think that Bo Dallas, the performer, is nailing the gimmick, but has a long way to go. And I also I can't imagine how this gimmick is something that, like, this time next year he can still be pursuing. I mean, at some point this is going to become so. I mean, it's great because it's supposed to be painful, but then that will stop being great and will become painful. But we were talking about Tyler Breeze. Tyler Breeze is incredibly talented. I mean, he's an NXT #1 contender for a reason. Most likely to be NXT's next champion, which is has been in the past a guaranteed spot onto the main roster. Tyler Breeze is owning this gimmick. He's working it. The details of it are perfect. The fact that this guy, IMAG's his own Titantron. He's so obsessed with himself. He's owning the gimmick. But is that going to translate onto main roster success? What is Tyler Breeze's current ceiling in WWE if things don't change?
See, I think that the big thing for Tyler Breeze and a lot of the talent down in NXT is that when they make that leap from NXT to the main roster, all of their character and gimmicks need to be altered a little bit. Not a lot. But just kind of, turned up in the serious category.
Okay.
NXT has a great.
Can you do that with a guy whose Twitter handle is? I'm not kidding.
Gorgeous.
Is gorgeous. I mean,
yes.
At some point, before people jump at me, I'm high on Tyler Breeze. I like the guy.
Yes.
All the talent in the world. I think anybody with 2 eyes and a wrestling knowledge understands the kid's got it, and he's proven that he can take a semi-difficult gimmick and make it into a number 1 contender. No arguments here. I just think he would get to the main roster, and in the mid card is so crowded that is this gimmick good enough to push through?
Well, the mid card is extremely crowded, but eventually some of those people need to make it up to the main event slot because that is lacking.
Okay.
That's lacking. And
Yeah.
that's a very different conversation about WWE needs to make a bunch of decisions on to like, these guys are our mid-carders and we now need to push them as main eventers.
They're in that awkward transition period.
Yes.
Because Sheamus and Del Rio and Cena are not ready to retire, but at the same time, Roman Reigns and Cesaro and Bray Wyatt are not ready to be WWE champions. Spoiler alert, I don't think any of them are. I think that Bray Wyatt is ready to be champion. I don't think it's the time for Bray Wyatt to be the champion. I think the Cesaro could easily be their champion, but he hasn't been booked to it, and I don't think that Roman Reigns is ready yet. So what I'm saying is you know, that's the awkward transition period WWE finds itself in.
Exactly, and eventually they'll figure it out. They went through these growing pains after Hulk Hogan left, and they went through those growing pains after Bret Hart left.
Right, and he didn't return until they went back to the Silverdome.
Exactly. And so, you know, they go through these growing periods, but I have faith that they will figure it out. But, you know, also, you made a comment about the gorgeous Twitter handle. Let's be honest. If Shawn Michaels had Twitter when he was Tyler Breeze's age, he would have been Sexy Boy 69.
Right. No, there would have been a bunch of trouble because Shawn Michaels' Instagram would have been shut down, I'm guessing, several times.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about...
So, you know, Twitter handles aside.
Trouble waiting to happen. Shawn Michaels with social media.
I just think, you know, Tyler Breeze, if they just turn up the serious factor, he could be a more successful John Morrison.
Okay.
Where it's
I think a more successful John Morrison is just called Successful John Morrison. Did he do anything?
He won the ECW title when it was a WWE thing, I think.
Oh, cool. I got one of those, too. I bought it online because they're easy to get. We are the New Age Insiders, the premier place for wrestling fans to connect, discuss, and be heard. Right now, we're covering NXT. We were talking about Tyler Breeze, whether or not that's the kind of gimmick that can transition onto the main roster. I still say that the fact that the Wyatts and the Shield seem to stand out so much more than almost any other. I mean, Big E had a very lackluster IC title reign. You know, they stand out so much more. And Adam Rose is not everybody's a main eventer. I mean, welcome to wrestling. The guys you like, not everybody is a main eventer.
Not everyone is an A+ player.
Not everybody is an A+ player. Okay, we're gonna move on because I forgot about A+ player, and that's mind-boggling.
That's my job.
That's his job, is to remind me of things that make my brain hurt. All right, we are going to now. What are we moving on to?
We're just going to answer some questions. All day on Twitter, we were just, you know, having people ask us a few questions, so we're going to answer a couple.
Hashtag NAI Pod. That's what we're going to be using moving forward for any of our Twitter questions for the podcast. Our goal, just spoiler alert, is to go live to the point where we can take your Twitter questions, you know, right as we go. But because this is recorded and we said, hey guys, what do you want to say? It would be days ago and it would be impossible. It's just the way the time-space continuum works. It's just not our fault. But we are going to take your questions. The first question is from a very good friend of mine. The reason that we're such good friends is because I think anybody that knows me on New Age Insiders knows that my guiltiest pleasure, I'm a gigantic Goldberg. Mark Goldberg, if you're listening, I love you. I can't get enough, and I'm not going to justify my opinion because it's right, and Goldberg's awesome.
Please do us a favor and just let us know if you're ever going to show up on a wrestling thing, because if we're watching, I would not like my ears to bleed.
Yeah, there'll be like a me-shaped hole in the wall because I busted through it like Bugs Bunny, because I'd be so excited to see Goldberg. Anyway, so the reason I mentioned Goldberg is because the first question comes to us from a giant Goldberg fan as well, at Joe to the Bow. He asks, in your opinion, has Wade Barrett been the best IC champion of the last year? Has he legitimized the belt again?
You know what? I'll start this one out. I think that he's definitely on his way to legitimizing the belt.
Okay.
I think that his field has gotten tougher now that the WWE title and the world title are combined. So you have people like Dolph Ziggler, fighting for it, and I know that doesn't really mean a lot, but he is a former world champion. And even though WWE
Technically,
you
I
know,
feel like it.
it doesn't feel like it, but it feels like his matches have gotten bigger. Even his matches against Rob Van Dam and Cesaro, they just feel bigger.
I mean, the man stared Magneto right in the eye. So I understand that his position is... I will say that Wade Barrett is the most successful IC champion that I can certainly think of in recent memory. I think that WWE had high hopes for the repackaged Curtis Axel. I'll get this talking thing right. It's only an audio podcast. Why should I be able to talk right? I think that WWE had high hopes for a repackaged Curtis Axel. I think that the kid just doesn't have that, it factor. And his dad had it. I think that, it's tough to compare him to Mr. Perfect. It's a Hall of Famer. It's an all-time name. It's a top 5, if not maybe 3, Intercontinental Champion. But at the same time, he's not as technically gifted as his father.
No.
And that charisma is just non-existent.
He also hates us.
Oh, he does hate us. We got into a Twitter fight about almost a year ago now with Curtis Axel.
So, Curtis, if you're out there, we would love to have you on the show.
Not only that, I would love to tell you how right I was about how your career wouldn't go anywhere. Hashtag right
I am
back.
trying to get him on the show.
I'm trying to get him on the show, too. He's a bad guy. You got to antagonize them. You suck, Axel, and you always have. McGillicuddy. All right, so I do believe that it was a more successful reign than Big E's. I'm high on Big E, but I mean it was a do nothing reign.
No.
He didn't get anything done.
It's
I don't
also-
remember a single highlight from that IC title reign.
No. Well, he's also defended it.
That's a huge part of it.
You
That
know?
the belt has felt like something important again.
Yeah.
Even winning it after qualifying in a tournament and now getting guys involved for it. That's a very, very fair point.
It's like, I don't want to harp back on it, but I mean, having guys like Rob Van Dam, competing for that belt again makes it mean more.
Sure.
I would much rather see Alberto Del Rio, after he loses or just doesn't win at Money in the Bank, go against, Wade Barrett. I would love to see Wade Barrett versus Alberto Del Rio.
I agree. It's the reason, I think it's more than half the reason they gave the U.S. title to Sheamus was because they felt that it was going to do two things. It was going to alleviate Dean Ambrose of that burden. It was also going to give it to somebody who's a former world champion and who wanted the U.S. title. I'm not sure it accomplished that because... I think at this point it might just need to be dissolved. I'm not sure it's saving. But Joe to the Bow, huge Goldberg fan, our friend Joe, asked, did he legitimize the belt again? I think that he elevated the belt again.
It's on its way.
I think legitimize is a word used for guys who directly become from IC champions to world champions within at least a 6-month period to a year. I think until you see more guys who go from IC to world like we used to, I think legitimize is a strong word, Joe, but we always like to hear from you. And then we've got our next question from...
Mind of Carnage.
Hi, Mind of Carnage. You're awesome.
Who can save the dwindling Divas division, and can their impact truly repair the damage done?
I think that one of the biggest things you can do to repair the Divas division isn't even a call-up. It's to get Emma the hell away from Santino Marella. I have no issue with Santino Marella because, like we were just talking about, the mid-card exists for a reason. He's a very strong worker. He's a good dude. This isn't about Santino Marella. It's about the fact that Emma serves him no purpose, and he serves her even less of a purpose. Emma is her gimmick in NXT was to be a little bit bubbly, a little bit goofy, but she's an incredibly talented superstar. She's a talented female athlete who I feel, her relationship with Paige behind the scenes is strong, and I think that friendship would allow them to work well together. They have a chemistry, and I think that, obviously we can talk about call-ups and maybe bringing back Victoria, and we could talk about what if you made Gail Kim an offer and swallowed your pride. But I think you could do something right at home by just, taking Emma seriously.
It's all about the story. I think it's all about telling a compelling story that people want to watch. People liked Lita versus Trish because it was a compelling story.
And because they could go.
Well, and it was also because they can go. But, at the end of the day, if Emma and Paige don't tell a compelling story and they just go in the ring, there's nothing that's going to be able to entice me into that.
Sure.
That's why I don't care about the Funkadactyls fighting for the Divas Championship. Also, they need
I just don't
to
care
get
about the
rid of the
Funkadactyls.
Divas. They need to get rid of the Divas title. it needs to go back to the women's title.
I agree with that completely. Divas is a Hollywood industry term for bitch.
Yes.
These are female athletes. They deserve to be treated with respect. They deserve to go out there and feel like they are a part of a viable division that this company cares about. And right now it just doesn't feel that way. Yeah. We are going to move on to spare you the time. One of my favorite people, not just on Twitter, but on planet Earth, this big blue ball that we live on.
I'm right here, buddy.
You are right here. And I was talking about somebody else and as well as you. It's Becky at BexLS78. You know you're awesome, Becky. We already tell you. We tell you that all the time. You're great too. I'm sitting next to you, darn it.
Whatever.
All right, and Becky asks, it seems as though WWE has zero plans to do anything with Ziggler. Should they cut their losses? Liam, what do you think?
Okay, so this is going to be a very unpopular opinion, and I apologize for that.
CM Punk is overrated.
Yeah, but no.
That was me. I'm the Twitter guy that talks about how... forget it.
Anyway, so Dolph Ziggler fills a very specific role on the main roster right now. And that
punching bag?
Well, I mean punching bag, but you know, he makes people look good. So he makes the heels that are in the main event look good.
Yeah.
You know, having
Can't he do that on the way to relevance?
I mean, he could, but you know, I think that he needs to answer a few questions about his health.
Here's why. Okay, I think the answer is don't have me fight Alberto Del Stifo or Jack Swagger. I mean, I think concussions are very serious, but these were direct, stiff kicks to the head. I mean, isn't that incredibly preventable to not have a stiff kick to the head? Can't you just work with a guy? I mean, you're not talking about Daniel Bryan, who might be on his way to a degenerative repeat neck injury like Stone Cold couldn't seem to shake when all things were considered. I mean, this is a guy with concussions. Isn't that far more preventable than a bone or a muscle?
It really is, and it's sad that they kind of based it off of those two performers because I think Dolph Ziggler has proven in matches with people like Batista, who WWE holds very highly, and at one point was a mainstay in the main event scene, that he belongs.
You know, he wore blue once during a wrestling match. It became quite the thing.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it is. We love you, Becky. So I guess in short, WWE, in my opinion, won't cut Ziggler completely because, as Liam did say correctly, he does have value to that company even without success, and I think that they are a little concerned that he would go to a GFW. I think the TNA is
He would be a huge draw. He would make the type of money that Matt Hardy makes.
If Dolph Ziggler was GFW's first heavyweight champion, they'd be off to a great start.
Yes. All right. Moving on. Our next question comes from P.N. Roberts. There's a lot of talent in...
Shout out to England.
Yeah.
Right? Sorry about kicking you in the Revolutionary War's ass, but other than that, I mean, just a great place. Tea, the clock, the wrestling questions, I'm all for it.
All right. There are a lot of talent in WWE that just seems to be stuck at mid-card. What needs to be done to get them to the top? What do you think about that?
Vince McMahon has to die. I'm kidding. No,
I was just gonna say, okay, move on.
No. You're completely right, P.N. Roberts. There is a great deal of clutter in the mid card right now. You have guys like Damian Sandow who are probably now not even going to be found a way to escape. But I think that what you do is you make the belts worthwhile, and you have worthwhile opponents fighting for them. I've long said one of the ideas I had on Twitter was if you were to guarantee that the Intercontinental Champion were to get a title shot within 6 months, all of a sudden you'd have guys want the Intercontinental title because it's worth something. If the United States Champion were granted the Intercontinental title shot, then it would be a stepping stone towards a world title shot because there's a sequence. I also think it would be great value where if the United States Champion was guaranteed a final 15 spot in the Royal Rumble, the Intercontinental Champion was guaranteed a final 5, and then all of a sudden these belts have immediate value because if you're the Intercontinental Champion going into the Royal Rumble, you have a final 5 Rumble spot. All of a sudden you even have a guy like John Cena who considers the belt because it will get him a viable Royal Rumble spot. I think that what you do is you make the titles worth fighting for and you get worthwhile guys to fight for them.
I think it's also an issue of the main event scene is very weak.
They have a main event scene?
Yeah, you have a lot of guys that
right now I thought the main event was I don't like you, quote unquote, Triple H.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's kind of what it is.
All right. So how do you think that they get out of this malaise?
Well, what they need to do is they need to give people like Roman Reigns or Bray Wyatt or Cesaro just a shot. It's got to kind of be this mentality of, okay, kid, let's see what you got.
Okay.
And whether it's too soon or not, it's kind of like a wartime promotion. You know, this is what we need to do right now because we need to move on. And once the main event scene has its players again, the mid card will feel less crowded.
I think you're a smart man. We should start a wrestling company together.
We should.
Okay. We're going to move on. We're going to wrap this thing up. You guys have been so patient. We didn't think it would be quite this long. If you're still listening, you're hashtag awesome and you're hashtag probably going to get a hashtag t-shirt. So we're going to run through quickly our Money in the Bank predictions. You know that we talk about this every day on New Age Insiders, at New Age Insiders, the premier place for fans to discuss, connect, and be heard. Have I plugged that enough? Have we covered it?
What are you plugging?
We're the New Age Insiders, the
Oh.
premier place for wrestling fans to connect, discuss, and to be heard. So let's go through. We'll go through your list. We'll go through my list. We'll have our predictions. We'll wrap this thing up, and we'll love you like the whole time.
The whole time. You know what? We'll jump right in with the Usos versus the Wyatts.
Wow.
I think that it's going to be a very, very strong contest. I think it's going to go on first. I mean, just get the crowd into it.
Okay.
You know.
Right. I believe you.
You know. I also think that the Wyatts are just going to come out on top. As much as I like the Usos, I think that this story gains more relevance if the Wyatts also. You know,
I completely
take the
agree
title.
with that, and frankly, if you really break it down, it is better when heels have championships over faces. There's more options, there's more stories.
Yeah.
I think we all kind of feel a now what feeling when a face wins a championship. I think that the Usos run never got going because, like we've been talking about, is that the division never really gave it a chance to.
They can only fight Ryback
They
so
can
many
only
times.
fight who you give them. So we're going to agree that I believe the Wyatt family walks out with tag team gold.
All right. I guess the next match we'll go with is the Money in the Bank briefcase. What do you think?
I think that Dean Ambrose right now to me is the odds-on favorite. I think anytime you saw Seth Rollins on Raw, anytime you see the bad guy say, it's mine, 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 the bad guy usually gets it. I think that Bad News Barrett is the dark horse on this thing. I think he has a legitimate shot at walking away with that case. I think that WWE clearly isn't afraid. I think it's a great way to establish the Intercontinental title by giving the Intercontinental Champion the number one contendership. If I was a betting man, I would bet on Dean Ambrose. I feel like Seth Rollins is just too obvious, and it's a great story to have Ambrose. Reigns is the future, and Rollins is the new heel, and Ambrose is not to be forgotten. I think it's a great story. I will go on a limb, and I will say that Dean Ambrose walks away with that case.
First of all, I'm going to disagree with you on Wade Barrett having a shot at this.
You're outrageous, sir.
For the only
Outrageous, sir.
The only reason, and it's 100% logistical.
I take back that wrestling company thing.
Okay, fine. But let me hear out my logistical issue that I have with it.
All right.
If Wade Barrett was to win the Money in the Bank briefcase and then cash it in and win the World Heavyweight Championship,
His hands would be full. He wouldn't.
he
be
would
able to-
have 3 belts.
Okay.
3!
Right.
2 is already too many.
Shawn Michaels had like 7 at one point. I think they like brought in a new title for him. I think he was like the sexy weight champion of the world or something. So it's not.
I
it's
just
not
think-
impossible. He's also got a year with the briefcase. Very.
Yeah. No,
very
he would
or you
lose-
could have an Ultimate Warrior moment where you unify him. But anyway, I think that I think the Bad News Barrett does have a shot at it. It's slim,
I do.
but
I honestly do.
but existent. I'll say Ambrose. Who do you got? Who's the winner?
My winner is Seth Rollins.
Seth Rollins.
I have been high on Seth Rollins from day one.
I've seen him do it. It's a real problem. We almost had
It's
an
a
intervention. He's
very
been
big
high
problem.
on Seth Rollins for years.
Years. I blacked
and
out.
as Becky will know, he looks like a space condom. I don't know if I like the new tights. Who walks away from Money in the Bank? Boston. We will be on the floor June 29th. This upcoming Sunday, Money in the Bank. The New Age Insiders will be on the floor for Money in the Bank. We will be there. Please look out for our poster and our awesomeness. It'll shine brighter than a Bray Wyatt cell phone entrance. Who do you got walking away with the World Heavyweight Championship?
You know what? To be perfectly honest, I'm very torn. I would love to
Like
see...
a Natalie Imbruglia song.
Yeah.
He's torn.
Torn.
Hit me.
On the one hand, I want Bray Wyatt to walk out.
Like of the company? Like CM quit? Oh, we're not doing that.
We're not doing
We're
that.
not doing that. We're not doing that.
No, I want Bray Wyatt to walk out WWE World Heavyweight Champion. I believe that.
I want him to leave ECW Television Champion. Can that be a thing?
Sure.
All right, great.
Why not?
So you got Bray Wyatt.
I have Bray Wyatt.
I'm gonna say it's John Cena, although I feel like the odds are this: everybody but Orton, Cena, and Kane have a shot. I think that Orton comes in at around 5%, which means you take the other 50, you take the other 95, and you divide it evenly somehow. I'm not good at math. Between
We went to art school.
we're filmmakers, you mathematicians. I believe it's a 50, whatever 50% of 95% is, that John Cena or Kane takes the belt. I think it's obviously the direction WWE wants to go in long term. If they want to put the belt on somebody like Brock Lesnar, John Cena makes a lot of sense as a transitional champion until SummerSlam. On the flip side, if they are trying to get Daniel Bryan healthy, returning, and put the belts back on him, Kane makes a ton of sense because
But I also think the same way that that's the reason Bray Wyatt makes sense. Because
I don't see Bray Wyatt being a transitional champion, not in his first one. Not in his first one. Not in his first one. And I think what you do is you have Kane is the only heel option. I legitimately believe that's why Kane is in this match. Not necessarily to win, but to at least give credibility to a heel taking it. Because right now, we talk to you guys on Twitter every day. You guys thought it was John Cena by a landslide, and frankly, so did I. Until Kane showed up, and I think that if your plan is to put the belts back on Daniel Bryan at Night of Champions, Kane is a respected veteran who can carry the belts for 2 months. You'll get away with it. I'm not overly concerned.
See, I also am kind of holding out to this hope that something crazy would happen.
Crazy like a fox.
Crazy like a fox. I enjoy the idea of like wrestling. Anything could happen, and anything can change at the absolute last minute.
All right, we're running out of time. Paige, we're talkers.
Fine.
We're gab.
Fine.
We thought this was gonna be 25 minutes. Look where we are now. Paige versus Naomi. Who you got? Real quick, I'm gonna say WWE does the right thing, takes a risk, puts it on Naomi. Paige's run is stale. It was a mistake to give it to her this early. She's doing nothing with that belt. That belt is hurting more than helping. She's talented. She's young. She's sweet. She's beautiful. She's very good. She's a part of their future. Get it off her. Put it on Naomi.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. We believe, I'm not sure if this is confirmed or not. We haven't done our research properly. I believe that I believe that Big E bursts Rusev. Rusev versus Big E is inevitable. Those two are going to match up again. That's why we saw them on Raw. I think that Rusev wins. He's not ready to lose yet. Not to Big E anyway. I think there's probably a 25% chance that Big E wins this thing. But if I was a betting man, it would be on Rusev. And those legs, Lana, those legs.
Yeah. You know what? I would like to see, that match, but I would also, in a dream world, love Pro America to win and have Kurt Angle show up.
When Kurt Angle shows up to put on the match of the year with Rusev, you heard it here first, that that's what should happen. All right, we are almost, and we're out of time. We're done. All right,
we're done.
So, all right, why don't Liam Stryker, my partner, my friend, my business compadre, my independent wrestling expert, why don't you go ahead and sign off, and then I will kind of close this thing out for everybody.
All right. He's going to have some alone time with you.
The lights are off.
Yeah. It's kind of creepy. I'm Liam Stryker.
No, it's not.
I'm Liam Stryker, and I'll see you guys next week.
My name is Jason Maltov. Chances are, if we talked on Twitter, you were talking to me because I am obsessed with getting you guys your news and making sure that everybody gets to connect and discuss. We might not always get along, we might not always agree, but I think we always value what we have to say. I could not be more thankful for you. I try to tell you that as much as possible, that you guys are the reason that we are, by word of mouth alone, almost 2,000 strong. I mean, that's incredible. The website's not even up yet. And you guys, with your Follow Fridays, with your word of mouth, with your amazing tweets and interactions, have made us what we are. We wouldn't be here without you. I can't say that enough. I love you. I could spend all day reading off the names that I want to thank, but I am going to read some because you guys are kings and queens of our ring, and I think you know that. But
I'm going to start playing the Oscar sign-off music.
I'm not going to listen. All right, I'm Sinatra. I'll take my time.
Yeah, okay.
We want to thank at Joe to the Bow, at Roman Will Rain. We love you, Joe and Rebecca. At Vincent Adams, at Bex LS78. Becky, if you rocked any harder, you would fall off the stage. At Kokisha C. Kokisha, you're lovely. You know you're lovely. We talk all the time about it. Shannon Scott, your Twitter handle is confusing and it won't do you justice. So Shannon Scott, you're awesome. You're smart. I'm so happy to hear from you anytime that I do. See the kid win, a part of our future. I love talking to you. You're a great guy. You got smart opinions. You're probably smarter than me. So don't tell anybody I said that. At Snowman2989, Jesus, you're a great dude. You've been there from the beginning. We love you. We know you. We value you. Bane of Wrestling. Come on, dude. That your picture changes too often. I lose track when you're on my notifications feed. But you're great and you're an awesome dude. You're a smart fan and we're happy to have you. At Magnum MH519, the Matt Knight Rider. This guy's bringing it all the time. I can't stress enough how smart he brings it. He challenges me. It's a great thing. At Dob Ziggler, you're a funny bastard. Sometimes to a point where I don't even know what to think about what the things you send me, but you're a funny dude. At Pit Dog K13, you don't believe in Dean Ambrose, but I believe in you. You're an awesome dude. At Chris Rinaldi, thanks so much, man. You get under my skin all the time, but what would I do without you? Big Dave, you're awesome, and we disagree on CM Punk, and I'm right. At Chris the Great 71, you are great 71, Chris the. At Vintage Pipe Bomb, you're always bringing it. Great to hear from you. Never stop. What would I do without you? At After the Bell, an incredible podcast, a great group of people. At Lee Morgan, check them out. Awesome people with an awesome podcast with an awesome time. Jamie Got Dat Bomb, you sure do, girl. Every single time you tweet us, we love you. At Slick Rick 81, thanks, buddy. Anytime we hear from you, it's great. Pro Wrestling World and PN Roberts, thank you for your questions, your comments, your interaction. We love you. We could go all day with the people that have helped make us who we are, but we love all of you.
All right, we've ran out of time.
Check out everyone on our follow list. Thank you. We are the New Age Insiders. We'll be back with you daily to connect, discuss, and be heard.
And we're going to be doing this every week.
Oh my God.
From now till forever.
Be heard!